Hello, welcome back to The Witness. This is not a blind run. We're doing a comprehensive look at the environmental puzzles and the audio puzzles of The Witness. So if you haven't played this before, maybe switch off and have a look at it later on. Today we're just going to go through the labyrinth side of things. But before we do, there's a little environmental puzzle over here, which I missed. And I'm not actually sure how to get to this one. Okay. There somewhere. Oh, here we go. So basically just hit it here and follow around. And thank JB in the sky for mazes. Now, a labyrinth is a symbol. Labyrinth mazes have often been used in medieval times, in cathedrals, in churches. And it's usually denoted, well, two things. If you're looking at medieval stuff or ancient stuff, it looked away. It was more of a protection to stop demons and that from getting to you. But in medieval times, like the castle here, it was more of a pathway to God. And often you would state a lot. There was one entry which referred to your birth, and your idea was to find God during that journey. And God would always be the center of the labyrinth. Also, if you notice this, there's 3 characters here by the looks of it. It also shows that this is a product of the quarry, because that quarry had the same stuff. Okay, so basically if we come in here, and as I said, it was a prayer journey to show basically, and this would be the center where you would have to have a connect to God, and hence that's why the laser is placed there. What we're going to do is we'll probably go on this side first. And do it this way. I'm not sure what's down here. I haven't been down here yet, but when you look at it, you can see maybe the Grim Reaper down there. Don't know what that is. Maybe some sort of judgment. He's holding a sack, which might refer to materialism here. Is my guess, hence the reason why this one is.
If a man, holding a belief which he was taught in childhood or persuaded of afterwards, keeps down and pushes away any doubts which arise about it in his mind, purposely avoids the reading of books and the company of men that call into question or discuss it, and regards as impious those questions which cannot easily be asked without disturbing it, the life of that man is one long sin against mankind. But, says one, I am a busy man. I have no time for the long course of study which would be necessary to make me in any degree a competent judge of certain questions, or even able to understand the nature of the arguments. Then he should have no time to believe. William K. Clifford, 1874.
Awesome. So William K. Clifford was a mathematician. He was also a philosopher. I wouldn't say he was really a spiritual man. His argument is basically, again, if someone is so busy that he can't look into the spiritual things, he's so selfish that then it's really a sin against. It's an immoral thing to believe in things lacking evidence. He was a believer also that our brain and nervous system was just basically a collective, a collection of molecules acting. So he didn't believe in essentially the soul or anything like that, but that it was all physically just a collection of molecules in a standard, in a strange pattern. And there are some Christian religions that don't believe that the soul actually exists. They believe the soul is just our existence. And again, that collection of molecules, if you want to put it that way. That there's nothing that survives after we die, and the soul doesn't exist straight after. So again, just because of that, it doesn't mean that there can't be a blending of Christian beliefs and science there, because as I said, some science actually believe that. What I am a little bit concerned about is the fact that there wasn't a counter argument placed there in this maze to this guy. Normally, if you read the book of this guy, you would also have the book Will to Believe by William James, and he talks about the essence of why some people are able to put faith into things that lack evidence, and how that isn't actually a sin. So there is a counter argument to that as well. So we'll continue on anyway, and as I said, it is a labyrinth showing a hard path to God, and how various people, I guess, try and use that. I don't know what this is. I'm guessing maybe this guy's going away from a promiscuous, again, this guard, he's got a sword, looking at really, are you able to gain access? We're going to play this audio device here.
Our hangnails are incredibly real to us, whereas to most of us, the English village of Netherwallop and the high Himalayan country of Bhutan, not to mention the slowly swirling spiral galaxy in Andromeda, are considerably less real. Even though our intellectual selves might wish to insist that since the latter are much bigger and longer lasting than our hangnails, they ought therefore to be far realer to us than our hangnails are. We can say this to ourselves till we're blue in the face, but few of us act as if we really believed it. A slight slippage of subterranean stone that obliterates 20,000 people in some far-off land. The ceaseless plundering of virgin jungles in the Amazon basin. A swarm of helpless stars being swallowed up one after another by a ravenous black hole. Even an ongoing collision between two huge galaxies, each of which contains 100 billion stars. Such colossal events are so abstract to someone like me that they can't even touch the sense of urgency and importance, and thus the reality of some measly little hangnail on my left hand's pinky. We are all egocentric, and what is realist to each of us in the end is ourself. The realest things of all are my knee, my nose, my anger, my hunger, my toothache, my sideache, my sadness, my joy, my love for math, my abstraction ceiling, and so forth. What all these things have in common, what binds them together, is the concept of my, which comes out of the concept of I or me, and therefore, although it is less concrete than a nose or even a toothache, this I thing is what ultimately seems to each of us to constitute the most solid rock of undeniability of all. Could it possibly be an illusion? Or if not a total illusion, could it possibly be less real and less solid than we think it is? Could an I be more like an elusive, receding, shimmering rainbow than like a tangible, heftable, transportable pot of gold? Douglas Hofstadter, 2007.
Okay, so here we have a professor of cognitive science and physics. He's actually usually quite famous because he's trying to get to the idea of what makes us conscious, or how the brain actually works. That he's often his papers are used for when it comes to artificial intelligence, and the creating of artificial intelligence very similar to our own intelligence. And what he's saying here is, can we place any concrete validity to our consciousness, which seems very, very biased by egotism. We know the physical mechanics that happen around us, and really we dismiss that, the idea that we're lesser importance. There's an old saying, don't sweat the small things, but in reality we're small in comparison to everything else. So again, it's looking at how much really concrete evidence can we put on anything that we actually perceive, since we're so egocentric in how we're so biased in the way that we interpret what we experience. So we're going to go on to this one, and I don't quite understand why this. It seems to be very biased, this presentation of facts here, given the fact that we're in a labyrinth, which is supposed to be the hard path to God. But what's interesting is, I guess, it's looking at it from a scientific point and a very anti-God point, and that's what I guess it's trying to say, that hard path to God again. We have another quote here.
I boasted among men that I had known you. They see your pictures in all works of mine. They come and ask me, who is he? I know not how to answer them. I say, indeed, I cannot tell. They blame me, and they go away in scorn. And you sit there, smiling. I put my tales of you into lasting songs. The secret gushes out from my heart. They come and ask me, tell me all your meanings. I know not how to answer them. I say, who knows what they mean? They smile and go away in utter scorn. And you sit there smiling.
Okay, so
Rabindranath Tagore, 1910.
This Tagore guy, he's actually the only one in this maze that's actually religious. So he was a product of a new religious sect at the time, and the sect was called Brahma Samaj, and it was kind of a collection of Sikh and Hindu beliefs. And while the quote sounds like very sinister to some degree, like the fact that everyone's there saying, who is this guy, and this guy just sits there smiling, it might sound actually quite negative to some degree, and because you say, again, why does God allow that suffering, that wickedness? I don't understand. But this Bengali poet who wrote 2,000 songs, it could also be in reference to the fact of, again, that regardless of us not knowing, that there was already a system in place, and he's smiling on the fact of that we're wanting to know what that system is, that purpose, that meaning, and it's more of a reassurance smiling of genuine search. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing there, but I feel that it's placed there in context of a negative, because basically all this stuff here is quite anti-religious, I find, in this maze. And again, on that, and I think that's because it's really, the whole labyrinth is that hard search for God, and why all these anti-religious notions and ideas make that search so much harder. And so we're going to finish off on this one. This is this one I actually know. I've spent 10 years studying psychology myself, and boy do I know this guy.
In the traditional view, a person is free. He is autonomous in the sense that his behavior is uncaused. That view, together with its associated practices, must be re-examined when a scientific analysis reveals unexpected controlling relations between behavior and environment. By questioning the control exercised by autonomous man and demonstrating the control exercised by the environment, a science of behavior also seems to question dignity or worth. A person is responsible for his behavior, not only in the sense that he may be justly blamed or punished when he behaves badly, but also in the sense that he is to be given credit and admired for his achievements. A scientific analysis shifts the credit as well as the blame to the environment, and traditional practices can then no longer be justified. These are sweeping changes, and those who are committed to traditional theories and practices naturally resist them. As the emphasis shifts to the environment, the individual seems to be exposed to a new kind of danger. Who is to construct the controlling environment, and to what end? Autonomous man presumably controls himself in accordance with a built-in set of values. He works for what he finds good. But what will the putative controller find good? And will it be good for those he controls? Answers to questions of this sort are said, of course, to call for value judgments. B.F. Skinner, 1971.
Okay, so it's all against, again, that big nature versus nurture issue. And actually you'll see there's a character that's pulled out of this bucket. And I think over here... Is it here? Where is it? Oh, here. If you look on here, there's a couple of people falling through. And that's a reference to Myst, I guess. And interesting, the reference to Myst, because there's a few references to Myst, and the game's kind of like that. But even Myst was about, had an interesting story about creators. And then again, you got the siren that we saw before. Okay, so B.F. Skinner was basically a nature versus nurture, and it's been a hot debate for all the time during psychology. How much does environment play part in shaping our cognitive world? And can we really be blamed for anything? Like, you got to understand that, for instance, a person that's born in a family which has been raped, is going to naturally develop idiosyncrasies which might be damaging. So, can that person really be blamed? And again, as looking through that other quote by who was it? Kate Clifford, looking at the biology side, how can you blame such a person when we're a product of our biology? Now he's saying that the environment actually changes our biology, and that's without a doubt that's true. Like if they've done experiments where they've put people in a room and they put a girl in there, and she wore a blue dress, and everyone treated her like a tomboy, and she reacted accordingly to how everyone was treating her. And then they put her in a red dress, and she was more flirtatious, and everyone treated her differently, and reaffirmed that value. So again, how much can we be blamed for the environment? For instance, if a person was born as a Muslim, then you can't say, well, that person therefore can be blamed by God for believing anything other than a Muslim belief. How much, or if somebody was born in a situation where, well, I don't know, a Papua New Guinea tribe or something with that, where they weren't brought up on those such beliefs. Can you really punish someone for believing something different? Now, if a person has gone through, an environmental situation which has caused them to not believe in God anymore, then, or to be in an anti-religious family, can they really be blamed? It doesn't make sense. And at the same time, he's saying, how can you give achievements to someone simply because they were born in a situation which was very prosperous? So imagine there is a true religion somewhere in this planet, and that person was born in that religion, and they were a product of those people just keep telling them this is the way. They're probably going to be, just through repetition, brainwashed or made to think a certain way. Can they really be justified as righteous simply because they happen to be in the right environment? And again, that's stating that it just doesn't make sense. So we've got a couple more environmental puzzles here. We did find this one on the original walkthrough. Got an hour ago now, something like that. And you've got to go all the way down to this one here. And again, we thank JB in the Sky for producing Hedges. I don't know. And again, there's one here. We think JB in the Sky for lasers. Now, here, if you actually have to solve each maze this way, so you might want to pause it and take note of each maze here. This is the way you have to solve it, and this allows you to get to all the areas without being blocked by this. So the yellow maze is that way, the purple maze. Wow, got a lot of things to thank JP in the Sky for. The green maze and the blue maze. So much happening here. Now you'll find this one is also, but you can't. So what you actually have to do is you're going to have to go back down, and you actually have to change to the maze again. There's no choice about that. So we're going to go down, and how do we? It's probably out here. Okay. So basically, we reset the maze. And I'm gonna go, I think it's this way. I think it's this one. Hopefully this is right. So once you touch that, I'm gonna go this way. Okay, maybe not. I stuffed it up somehow. Alright, let's reset. Maybe I can do it. Alright, let's try it. So we go one up. We're gonna go this way. And I'm gonna go two up. I'm gonna go this way. And yeah, I think that way. Yep, and then that way. Okay, and then you hear that noise there. Okay. And there's a puzzle there, by the way. And then what that should allow you to get to that last environmental puzzle. Which is here, and as you can see, you're no longer being blown off. And that's the last one of the maze, I believe. So that's all the secrets I could find and the Easter eggs of the labyrinth, and basically what they were trying to say, all those topical and controversial questions and issues and contemplative ideas to think about. Again, that all that anti-religious statements and that questions about environment and biology and how much can we trust egocentric thinking, and again, with all those things, it's that hard path to God. But we're also so busy, and again, that blind faith, and again, materialism, I guess, promiscuous entertainment, all these things make that path to God, that path to that genuine search for wanting to find truth, very, very difficult. So join me next time as we continue on to find out other Easter eggs and so forth in The Witness. Until then, bye for now.